Movie starts with showing a man who was painting in the church. He tells us that he has been painting for a long time, but till now he has not got any money. So he goes to the church father to ask for money. But when he reaches there, he finds out that father has died due to a disease called plague. And knowing this, he gets very disappointed, because now he will not get his money. Then he sees father's dress there. Wearing it, he decides to become a father. Because the father has no shortage of anything, be it money or respect. Then we see Lorenzo, who was running away in fear of Gerbino, and he eventually manages to escape. Gerbino then tells his companions to capture Lorenzo under any circumstances, after which Lorenzo's friends give him a horse and ask him to leave the city, and Lorenzo does the same. After this we see a girl named Pampinea, crying because recently his parents passed away due to the plague disease. Just then Gerbino comes there and sympathizes with her and asks what she will do now. Pampinea tells him on this that the king of Russia is going to come here soon and she's going to marry him. Hearing Gerbino tells Pampinea that your father had taken too much debt from me, and now after his death, all your property has become mine. So if you want to save this house, then you have to marry me. On the other hand, we see Lorenzo running. Gerbino's guards were behind him. Meanwhile, he sees a man who was dumb and deaf. The man tells Lorenzo that he used to work as a gardener nearby, but now he stopped working there. So thinks Lorenzo that if he becomes dumb and deaf, he will go there to become a gardener. Then he can get the job so that he will also be saved from Gerbino's guards. And then he climbs a tree and Gerbino's guards overtake. But soon the branch of the tree breaks and Lorenzo falls down and faints. Then some nuns come to him and takes him to church, and this was exactly where they needed a gardener. Then the two nuns started teasing Lorenzo by making her unconscious. At this time Lorenzo also regained consciousness, but he still does nothing. After this, the head of the nun comes there. So the nuns tells them that this man is dumb and deaf, and then they hire him as a gardener. Moments later, while Lorenzo was taking a bath, then two nuns come there and join him. We can understand by seeing this that's why the nuns wanted a dumb deaf gardener here, so that if those people would do anything with him, so being dumb, he will not be able to tell anyone about it. Then we see Pampinea in a church with her friends and their boyfriends. This is where Pampinea tells them she has a second home in that city where she will marry the king of Russia. Pampinea asks everyone to come over there. Just then, Gerbino comes there and asks Pampinea. Pampinea lies about what you're talking about, that they were just praying now because the king of Russia had some time to come here, and Pampinea didn't want to be with Gerbino either, so she makes a plan to stay in the church. But it was the same church in which Lorenzo works as a gardener. After this, the rest of Pampinea's friends also leave to visit her house. Next in the church, when two nuns were preparing Pampinea, that's when she sees Lorenzo. The nuns smiled and said about it, that he works here as a gardener and the dumb is deaf. After a while, when a nun was taking Lorenzo inside the woods alone, Pampinea notices them and understands that, what is going on here? At the same time, we also see here that Pampinea is feeling very jealous after seeing all this. Here King Dzierzhinsky also reaches the palace, but there Gerbino tells him, that now Pampinea is going to marry him. Knowing this, Dzierzhinsky angrily leaves from there, but then a man tells him outside that Pampinea is waiting for him in another house in the city, and then Dzierzhinsky leaves to go there with his comrades. On the other hand, when Lorenzo was in his room, then two nuns bring food for him. Actually, they knew that's what the rest of the nuns do to Lorenzo, and that nuns wanted to do the same to her. But even Lorenzo agrees it. The next day when Pampinea was carrying two nuns with hot water for Lorenzo, then she tells the nuns that whatever you guys are doing to Lorenzo is a sin. On this, the nun says that there's nothing wrong with that, and you are just feeling jealous. So Pampinea gets very angry and she pours hot water directly on Lorenzo's head. Seeing this, we can understand that Pampinea has started liking Lorenzo. Meanwhile, when Dzierzhinsky was going to meet Pampinea, Gerbino attacked Dzierzhinsky with his guards. In the attack, all of Dzierzhinsky's companions are killed, but Dzierzhinsky manages to escape from there. On the other hand, Pampine's feeling was increasing for Lorenzo, and one day, Pampinea hears Lorenzo singing a song. Then from this, she understands that she is dumb and not deaf. Then one day she goes alone to feed Lorenzo. At that time she had covered his face, so Lorenzo doesn't know which nun it is. Then Pampinea has blindfolded him and kisses him and leaves from there, but this thing suits Lorenzo very much. Now after a few days, it's time for Pampinea to leave, but she tells the head nun before leaving, that Lorenzo is not dumb or deaf and he's been pretending from the start. Actually, Pampinea did not want to see Lorenzo with any other nun, that's why she did it. Now that the head nun comes to know about it, so she immediately fires Lorenzo. Then Lorenzo was sitting outside. Just then Pampinea passes by. Lorenzo requests Pampinea that she also takes him with her and Pampinea agrees to it. On the other hand, we see Dzerzhinsky and he sees a girl underwater. Then he starts talking to her as Dzerzhinsky tells her that he is going to marry a girl named Pampinea. Hearing this, the girl lies that she is Pampinea. Now since Dzerzhinsky had never seen Pampinea, he trusts her words, and here Dzerzhinsky also likes that girl very much. On the other hand, Lorenzo and Pampinea arrive at his house, and while they were talking, then Lorenzo tells that he loves that girl very much, the one who had blindfolded his eyes that day, and he will marry her. Pampinea says on this, "How would you recognize him when you haven't even seen her face?" Lorenzo says that I will find her by any means and marry her. So, Pampinea says that if you kiss someone else, you will forget her, but if you are not sure of this, so you can kiss me and see. Actually, Pampinea wanted that Lorenzo would find out that he had blindfolded him that day. Then Lorenzo was getting closer to Pampinea. That's when Gerbino arrives there with his guards. Seeing him, Lorenzo talks about fighting with him. And when the fight begins, Lorenzo can't stand Gerbino. But Pampinea stops him before Gerbino can kill him, and says that if something happens to Lorenzo, she will not marry him. Hearing this, Gerbino does not kill Lorenzo. After a while, Pampinea feels that Gerbino could kill Lorenzo at any time, so she tells Gerbino to get married now. At the same time, she also tells him that after marriage, he would have to leave Lorenzo. Gerbino considers this bet and sends 2 of his guards to fetch father. This was the same fake father we saw in the beginning. Then after the father came, when he was talking to Pampinea, so Pampinea gives money to father and tells him that he should not marry this. So he delays the wedding as much as he can, and the father also agrees to do so by taking money. Here too Gerbino's guards go to release Lorenzo into the woods. Here he had a plan to kill Lorenzo. But before that, Lorenzo kills them. He then sees Dzerzhinsky on his way to Pampinea's house. So he too sets out to go in the same direction. On the other hand, Pampinea and Gerbino start getting married. During this, father starts delaying the marriage at the behest of Pampinea, due to which Gerbino gets very angry. So he scares the father with the sword and asks him to get married soon. And the father also starts doing the same out of fear. Then Dzerzhinsky also comes over there, and seeing the gun in his hand, Gerbino starts running from there. At the same time, Lorenzo also comes there, and then Dzerzhinsky and Lorenzo together kill all of Gerbino's guards. Eventually, Dzerzhinsky fights alone with Gerbino, in which Gerbino is unable to stand in front of him and his sword falls down. Just then, Lorenzo asks to come and fight with Gerbino. Dzerzhinsky tells Lorenzo on this, that if you can't kill him, I will kill him. And then Gerbino starts fighting with Lorenzo by standing at the well. But during this fight, Gerbino falls into the well, due to which he dies there. After all this, Pampinea comes there and tells Dzerzhinsky that she cannot marry him because she is in love with Lorenzo. Then, when Dzerzhinsky sees Pampinea's face, then he tells her that you are not the Pampinea that I met in the lake, and I want to marry the same Pampinea. In the meantime, the girl from the lake comes there from behind. But here we learn that the girl is none other than Pampinea's friend Melissa. Dzerzhinsky is very happy to see Melissa because he loved her. Then Pampinea turns to Lorenzo and she proposed for marriage. But Lorenzo says that I want to marry the same girl, who blindfolded my eyes that day. Hearing this, Pampinea asks Lorenzo to kiss her, and he understands when Lorenzo kisses her. That girl is Pampinea, the one who had blindfolded him that day, and he agrees to the marriage. And the movie ends here. If you like the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.